Hello there, this is Steve here in Sydney of the Gnosis website truebluehealer.com, where in just 20 minutes you can get physical evidence of your divine spark activation, which will later lead to vivid messaging dreams, an internal mentoring voice, and all kinds of wonderful adventures discovering the new you. It's what you're supposed to be, and it's often called awakening, and you'll get considerable help getting, say, website addresses, website keywords, literally entered into your mind's eye for you, because that's what you need to know for your personal growth, your personal development. And you can check all that out yourself in just 20 minutes. It's all for free at truebluehealer.com. And I do know that you have a lot of trouble sorting out wheat from the chaff. Mis and disinformation drowns us today, and you want a way through. Layman's Gnosis is a good way to pick your way through. Okay? Can I just talk about the Ramadan knifing attacks in London that's occurred very recently, caused shock and horror around the world? Most of them seem to be actually false flags, and they're already being used by Theresa May to seize an opportunity. She seems to have the philosophy of Rahm Emanuel in the United States. He used to be Secretary of State, I believe, and is now Mayor of Chicago. He always said, and still does, say that never let a good crisis go to waste. You can always steal something in the middle of a crisis while nobody's looking. You can make an outrageous demand and get it past people just by having sufficient crisis. The problem is there's so many false flags going these days. It turns out they're actually produced by a travelling roadshow, something like a rock band. They go around the world. They can operate in more than one place at once, but they're a bit like a movie film crew. They have portable toilets, food vans and everything, developing vans. They have costume vans and all sorts of things. And you get the same people being killed in false flags time after time, and you get, strangely, the same Mossad cameramen turning up with grainy phone cameras, that sort of thing. And it's claimed by some people who are better at face recognition than I am. Some crisis actors have been killed 4 times. These people are actors, they're employed. Now, why on earth would you do that? Why don't you do a genuine massacre? Well, the answer is you employ crisis actors because if you only kill them, carry them off with movie blood on them on a stretcher, you don't create any wailing mothers that devote their time to getting out the secret, worming out the secret, who did it, who killed my son. Apparently the lesson came from 9/11, where the 3,000 people that died, a lot of them had mothers. And the mothers went on the warpath, letter bombing congressmen, etc., and writing to newspapers and getting on the net and making videos. And they posed such a threat, such an organised bunch of very angry mothers who had lost their sons. They posed a threat to the 9/11 narrative, in that it could have become greatly unravelled with their continued never-ending efforts. So a lot of the mothers, it turns out, have all died mysterious deaths. How convenient. Along the lines of the types of people who die around Hillary Clinton, you see. So that's what we're up against today. False flags which are engineered not to have any survivors you can shake hands with or go to meet in hospital. All the names are kept secret, and there's never any surge in death certificates granted. In America, they're online, you know. And I don't know about English death certificates, but will there be funerals for the people who died in London recently? Will there be death certificates made available to the general public? I would say definitely not, because it's all false flag. So now who's responsible for the false flag? Well, it's a travelling roadshow like a travelling rock band, which is almost like a travelling movie studio. It's got every resource you might need. And they move from city to city doing terrorist attacks. They fly from one country to another with unlimited resources. And so you can use them as a distraction. Donald Trump does something that's dangerously anti-liberal, and there's an immediate attack in Paris or the UK, London, English-speaking part of the world, that sort of thing. So you can dial them up and you can coordinate them over the internet, and mobile phones and all that make it so easy to coordinate attacks. In the case of one recently, we had a bizarre one recently in Melbourne, which has been utterly exposed as a false flag attack. There was a strange thing where an allegedly Greek citizen, Australian citizen, became a Muslim convert, a jihadi convert, and started driving after attacking somebody, ran some people down, drove a car around in the middle of an intersection at Flinders Street railway station, and drove round and round and round in circles there, you see, rather slowly, we might add. And if you just wait for the car to get out of the way in one of its circles, you notice there's a policeman directing the car, telling it to keep circling, go faster, now slow down, and then stop circling and go down that street there, waving his hand like that. Now, the policeman giving the signal is between two police cars, plain unmarked police cars. He's got a bright blue sweater and white gloves on. And he pumps his hand like this to say, go that way, that way, that way, just like Australian traffic cops do. So the police were in on that false flag operation. And later camera film reveals that when he went charging through a shopping mall somewhere, absolutely nobody got injured. He wasn't trying to hurt anybody. He was carefully avoiding people, hitting the brake pedal numerous times. So that's another false flag in Melbourne. And the film crew, the rock band crew that produces it, just flies out and goes to another country to do another one. So that's why they sort of always turn up with just the right sort of timing to suit some political objective, typically a distraction. From Melbourne, we also had Peekay Truth, who's got an incredible eye for detail. He's a foul-mouthed young man with tremendous insight and a kind of jeering, sneering scepticism that gets up some people's noses. But he's put out video after video showing little exceptions in the corner that you wouldn't notice. He slows it down and watches it frame by frame and will show you things like the blue sweatered policeman in Flinders Street Station directing the alleged terrorist car to drive slowly in circles while the police stand back doing absolutely nothing. No one thought to ram the car. No one thought just to put a couple of cars around it so it can't move out. Strange, isn't it? So the police, seemingly the Melbourne police, got to Peekay Truth and told him to stop making videos, and his YouTube channel was closed down anyway. So that's the deep state showing they can reach anywhere in the world and stop anybody doing anything, including you, dear viewer. Which brings me to the question, what can be done about this problem with the deep state and the widespread, totally subverted Western democratic system that we have? Well, we don't really have democracy. We have deep state controlled puppets. We have seriously and toxically subverted government system around the entire Western world. And I don't think any amount of words or argument or discussion or being nice to people is going to help. So I still stand by what I said in the last video. To avoid white genocide in the Western world, which is going on all the time, the answer is eliticide. By elites, I mean 8,000 bankers. I mean a lot of parliamentarians have to go. There's I'd certainly get rid of left-wing journalists who every time there's a knife in the neck attack, they immediately say white people are all guilty of Islamophobia. They do that reflexively and it's always wrong. And they never suffer for treating white people with such contempt. It's an insult to our intelligence, and I would like to see Western left-wing journalists fear the white backlash as much as they fear the Muslim backlash when someone draws a cartoon of Muhammad. Left-wing people generally are cowardly by nature. It wouldn't take many injuries or deaths to left-wing journalists to shut the rest of them up. That's my thoughts so far on that. Following the false flag attacks in London, Theresa May's come out and made a very strange speech. She's going to stop what crackpot logic she uses. She's going to stop knife attacks in the streets of London by making war on the internet, which is, preposterous joining of dots. It's just preposterous. There is no connection. Muslims have been putting knives in the necks of Christians for 1400 years, and most of the time there was no internet, and it doesn't facilitate that. It's prescribed in the textbook they have called the Quran. Strike them in the necks, especially in Ramadan time. Now, if you don't know what Ramadan means, it's a purification thing by fasting to strengthen warriors to go out and kill the unbelievers. So, and the other thing that Muslims do in Ramadan is kill other Muslims as well that they consider less pious than themselves. Because there's forever a kind of one-upmanship in piety in Islam, and groups are always massacring each other as they decide that that group down the road, they're less pious, therefore they are apostates and can be legally massacred, because Muhammad did exactly that in the Quran. And in one case, one group was more pious, they were doing more religious devotions than Muhammad's own leading group. So he had them smartly killed, you see. So killing is legalised in the Quran by example. You're supposed to emulate Muhammad, whatever he did. So you've got to wear dresses. If you're a man, you've got to wear dresses like he did. You've got to have semen stains on your clothing. You've got to go to Mecca. All that stuff you have to do if you're a Muslim. You have to emulate the Prophet entirely. That's what the Quran says. That's what all the Imams say today. You've got to marry a cousin, you've got to go to Mecca, all that sort of stuff. It just doesn't really fit. And on top of that, they got the forever, the usual civil war thing they got between Sunni and Shia based on the who should have replaced Muhammad when he died. That's a civil war been going on for 1400 years, and it's killed tens and tens of millions of Muslim people. So why would you want to import that into your culture anywhere? Why would anyone want it? It's best left in its countries of origin. That's the obvious thing to do, which brings me to what the media is saying in the UK now. I've been looking at that. And a new word's bubbled to the surface in English chat shows on their television. The idea of internment camps to put these jihadis in, because they're literally making war on Britain, and there are wartime acts to intern fifth columnists and spies and agents and saboteurs from foreign countries when a war starts. A war has been declared. It was declared 1400 years ago, and it's redeclared regularly in mosques all over England, okay, by these outrageous fire-breathing imams. Egged on and financed by Qatar and Saudi Arabia. That may diminish soon because of Donald Trump's speech to Saudi Arabia, which is changing the configuration of Middle Eastern oil-rich states that want to sponsor terrorism so much. They're all trying to make it look like Qatar is the sole origin of terrorism and terrorist education and jihadism. It's easy to do that if a few countries agree to cut their diplomatic relations with Qatar, and it's all their fault, you see. So that's politics, and that's the way it goes. Now, a lot of people would be squeamish about eliticide, but I really don't see... I only see one decent politician in the whole of the UK political system, and that is one Nigel Farage. So I'll put it to you this way. I would like to see, and this is my remedy, this is my solution, I hope it happens. Internment camps are a stepping stone. I'll come back to that. Nigel Farage needs to be elected or chosen as England's Lord Protector, and you dissolve Parliament for 20 or 30 years, just like Oliver Cromwell did. I really do think democracy is so toxic, it's not going to work to get Europe out of the mess that it's been put in by its enemies, what can I say, the Junkers family who run Brussels, World War II weapons magnates, who think they can tell the rest of Europe what to damn well do. So we need to basically suspend democracy. There may be a need to put... Now, here's what we can do with internment camps. You put all your ugly jihadis and crackpot criminals and ranting, raving, Allah Akbar fanatics into internment camps, and then you put the elites in the same internment camps, and you throw in drugs, a few weapons, and lots of Qurans. And you give the elites a dose of the medicine they're giving us, you see. I think that'd be a damn good solution, and we've got plenty of laws made. We don't need to make a new law every half hour like parliaments generally do. I think we need Nigel Farage as some kind of Oliver Cromwell, a Lord Protector, getting England through difficult times. And now, where would you situate these internment camps? This is my second suggestion. Libya. Libya is a failed state. It was the cork in the bottle that kept sub-Saharan Africans in Africa. The rule of law did that. It had controlled borders. Now that Libya's been absolutely trashed by Hillary Clinton decapitating the country, NATO airstrikes, etc., tens of millions, hundreds of millions of Africans can walk into Europe. And they're being picked up at the 12-mile limit off the coast of Libya by George Soros boats and being taken into Europe, basically to destroy Europe. Okay, that's the idea. So I don't know why he and his children are still alive today. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But I think there may come a time when we start looking at elites as the greatest enemy mankind has ever faced, certainly the Western world. I want you to think about that and try and discuss amongst yourselves, take this word elsewhere and just start typing it as a suggestion under videos displaying problems. Just say eliticide is the answer. Get the idea going, get the conversation going. I really do think eliticide is a word we all have to become very familiar with, very conversant with, and it's actually a very, what can I say, numerically cost-efficient remedy to getting the totally subverted, totally diseased parliamentary system that has declared war on the common people of the Western world. So I want you to think about that and see if you could write a few comments about eliticide as being a good clean-cut solution, and putting someone like Nigel Farage in charge of the whole thing as Lord Protector, replacing the monarchy and replacing Parliament. Okay, so I'll let you think about that.